Welcome back, everyone, to Finding Rachel. This is a podcast about a documentary film about a YouTube channel. Okay, we're in the stratosphere now, folks. Episode 12. Can you believe it? 12 episodes. But more importantly, we're just days away from my first meetings to pitch this film to distributors and broadcasters. The only problem is that I'm useless at pitching. So let's get some help. Okay, welcome, Irwin. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. It's nice and warm out here in the spring, like Vancouver. So it's nice when it's warm out in Vancouver.
Springtime.
Hollywood North.
Listen, everyone, I've invited Irwin Oostindie, a good old friend of mine today, to help me figure out how to pitch my film called The TV Show at the HotDocs Film Festival, which starts, I think it actually starts on Friday, but in earnest, probably next Monday here in Toronto. Irwin has a long track record of pitching various projects to different levels of government and to different institutions, and he's successfully acquired political and financial support for a series of projects and institutions in the cultural sector. I have known Irwin, what do you think, Irwin? Since 1988, I think. Maybe 1989. Anyway, we were both student activists and organizers in Vancouver, BC. So that's almost 40 years ago, everyone. Irwin was a key contributor, mentor, and on-screen interviewee in my last feature documentary entitled The Canadian Delegation. So if you want to check out that film, it's on my website, sojudocs.com, sojudocs.com. Irwin's a cultural worker, activist, artist, leader, collaborator. And a few years back, he didn't get too angry when I called him a serial startup entrepreneur. He has been a tireless advocate for Indigenous rights and cultural programming on the west coast of Turtle Island. Just a few weeks ago, Irwin received the 2025 Capilano University Alumni Award of Excellence. The university noted that, quote, from co-creating Canada's largest political arts festival to leading innovative urban and conservation projects, Irwin has been at the forefront of decolonization, equity, and environmental justice. Holy smokes. Welcome, Irwin. Welcome to my podcast, Finding Rachel.
Thank you so much.
That was exhaustive, wasn't it?
You get union coffee break now. You get. I'm thrilled to sit down and learn about your film because you have a knack at picking really interesting subjects that tap into bigger questions. So it's super cool that you found this story, and it's super timely. And it's timely. So let's get on with figuring out how to make it a success.
How to make it happen. Yeah. So as I said, next week I'm heading off to HotDocs, and during the festival, it's one of the largest international documentary festivals in the world, and so it also kind of couples as an industry conference. A lot of people there are looking to buy and to sell, to distribute their documentaries, and I'm going to be one of those people walking around. But I was just saying to Irwin before we hit record that I'm really, really bad at pitching. I'm not a sales guy. And I don't know why. I hate it. I despise it. It's not play to my strengths. I don't know. I need to learn how to do it. I need to know what I should say, how to approach people, all these kind of things. And so I thought I'd turn to my good friend Irwin, because I know he's had so many years of success pitching so many different projects in and out of the arts and culture sector. So maybe, Irwin, why don't we just start with a softball question? Like what do I need to know? What should I be thinking about? What works, what doesn't work when pitching a project to someone?
Well, I think authenticity is the most important thing, and I think that maybe is a overused trope in this era of fake news and all these kind of post-truth era. But authenticity is really going to be the throughput for you to pull off that elevator pitch when you're really nervous. It's the grounding that you're waking up to after sleeping 3 hours and having to continue with the editing, in an exhaustive state. Like, what is your truth that keeps motivating you to do this work, to put this out into the world? So understanding what that narrative is, why it's important to you, is going to reflect both the quality of the final film, the clarity of the production, the outcome, the product. But it's also going to be the thing that kind of keeps you going and being able to articulate. And if it's a scattered pitch, and if you're unclear why you're doing it, that's going to show too. So I think, really being authentic to your story. And yeah, if it's not a good story, maybe it deserves to stay on the floor. But if it's a good story and if it has relevance, and I think your stories always are topical. They tell particular stories, and they may be time capsules, but they speak to these broader social issues, so and public policy issues. So I think I'd love to see your next film be a success.
Thanks, Irwin. So when you say authentic, how does that authenticity manifest itself? Is it manifest in me saying, I'm trying to imagine, I'm approaching someone, and is it I'm trying to express my investment in the project and why I personally find it compelling and think other people would find it compelling? Is that one way to think about authenticity?
Well, I think, you've got to own your story. And I think if you bullshit your story, it's going to be, you think about hot dogs, right? It's massive. It's a feeding frenzy. There's constrained resources. The other problem is that there's particular modalities. There's particular, the NFB has a particular model of how you want them to pitch and what they're going to fund, and the structure of the film that they're going to fund, and the delivery systems and the cross media platform work and the web presence and the marketing strategy. Like, all these things are bigger than you. And so you're having to deal with all those and cope with all those and address all those external needs. And if you're not grounded in knowing, like I was saying, like what makes you get up in the morning and work on this film, then you're going to be, you're not going to get that support, or it's going to erode. You're going to get in some initial support, and then it's going to collapse. So being authentically connected to your story, your purpose that drives you, is going to be, from my experience, it's going to show to the listener. It's going to show to the person you're pitching to. It's going to show also to your audiences. And so I'm reminded of some of your listeners will know our dear friend Tracy Friesen, who passed away out on the coast here, and her book Story Money Impact, Funding Media for Social Change. Tracy was a good friend of mine and really inspired me in the way, and she inspired me. I was at her service a couple months ago when it was like 400.
She was in my graduation class. Did you know that, Irwin? Yeah, we graduated.
Right? Wow. Yeah. So Tracy was a force, both with the National Film Board, but also with CNPA. And so she was really an inspiring person who really encouraged you to kind of also like know why you're doing it and what is that social impact that you're hoping to make. And she knows that I think she would bring like a realistic critique that funding is scarce. You've got to be clear on your message, and to create compelling content, there's something's a rubric. It's not like you have to contain
or format. Yeah.
You don't have to compress your enthusiasm, but you have to structure it, because you have to communicate it at the end of the day. So it's like like I say, anyone can, in a different metaphor, I say, anyone, this is about public policy. I say, anyone can write good policy. Anyone can write policy. Oh, this should be done. That should be done. This is how we should do it. But it's how you account for it. It's how you track it. It's the oversight mechanism. It's the follow through. Those things are just as important as writing a good policy. So anyone can write a good pitch, but do you build confidence when you're pitching? Do you build confidence when you're producing the film? Do you build confidence by what your final product is? And so I think that's something I'd want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, I guess for me, and you come from an arts background as well, right, Irwin? So I think you've successfully been able to channel or find some language or a voice to talk about sometimes conceptual, difficult ideas. Sometimes ideas that are provocative, right, aesthetically, artistically,
Hmm.
experimentally, and that's kind of what I bring to my film. Like the Canadian delegation, the film that you and I did together. I think what I learned from that film is to trust my instincts when I show up to interview people, and to let their story reveal themselves, not to overmanage, not to overdirect, not to script the questions. And so it's that experimentation that I feel really fuels my own cinematic practice, right? The way I work as a director, but that I find it's difficult to translate the excitement of me finding the story or seeing the story reveal itself to me and to others, and then kind of pitching that story, right? Because it's always come from a place of I don't know. Before I show up, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I
well,
guess maybe I
I,
should know now.
I think I think that's where maybe Michael Moore and you might be different, right? Because I think that's maybe a critique. Some people, it's not necessarily my critique, but some people
Yeah,
find Michael Moore's storytelling as too intense. He's too much in the frame. He's
pedantic. Yeah, yeah,
so I think there's something to be said about that, and I think there's something generous about your spirit, your empathy, your compassion for the subject, that you give them that much space. And so
hmm,
there's a risk, of course, that they're not going to fill out that story. So you have to be, qualified to, and I think those are the questions of trust. That will your
yeah,
funders trust you? Will they trust that gentle character that you have, right? Because
hmm,
you're not a big egotistic character that has a brand name for provocative storytelling.
yeah.
You're a gentle storyteller, but you actually have a great track record. You've
Oh,
produced
thanks, Erwin.
you have a track record, so I think that's critical to emphasize. And I don't know if you've got a reel that shows some of those highlights, but
Yeah.
you could easily produce a little reel, promotional reel, where you show some of those film titles and some audiences enjoying your films. That would be a lovely montage for 45 or
Yeah,
60.
that's actually that's in the works. I was just talking to my editor this morning, so we'll have that ready for the festival. So
Cool.
absolutely, I've got a maybe there's a good transition to my next question for you. I've prepared some. Uh, I'm just showing this here to Erwin on the screen. This is my card, but I've got a nice Q
Tim Hortons,
code
is
on
that
the
a Tim
back.
Hortons, is that a Tim Hortons coffee card? Is that what you're
It
showing me?
kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Maybe people will want to scratch it or something. Anyway, but there's a Q card on the Q code on the back. I've said that twice now, and so people can put their cameras up to it,
Yeah.
and they'll be able to see the reel,
Oh,
the
sweet.
trailer.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm getting prepared in terms of things to quickly hand to people. But in your experience, do you, maybe it gets back to your question about your point about authenticity, but how much do you rehearse a pitch? Because you know better than I. You've How much time do you have? How much attention time do you have? 15, well, 10 seconds to get someone's attention, right? And to get
Yeah.
another minute or two.
Yeah.
So, like, how much do you rehearse your own pitches?
Oh, you have to. And I think that's where I'm talking about. That's where to your point, that's where the authenticity is there. Because if you can't,
I'm terrible at that.
when I get nervous, and I get nervous, getting some brain rest, so you're not super scattered. I mean, I have a lot of ADHD, so when I'm sleep deprived in these contexts, it's kind of the worst case scenario. On one
Mm,
level, my brain can fire synapses and bring complex ideas to the table, and I can kind of probably network more effectively because I'm understanding and empathizing like where this person is coming from, and quickly figure out, do a bit of online stalking to figure out like from their LinkedIn or and maybe I want them to see me stalking them because they're going to see me on the LinkedIn because LinkedIn provides that ability to see
yeah.
who's looking at you if you pay the premium fee. So, you want to know who they are. You want to know, you don't want to waste their time. And that's where authenticity comes in again, right? You don't want to waste their time. You don't want to be narcissistic or like, oh, I've got I need time from you to talk about my project. No, I've got an offer for you that's actually beneficial for you. You've got a criteria to support X films. You have a program to fund X films. You're going to distribute X number of films. I'm going to help you solve your problem. And if you can't do that with respect, if you can't respect their time, then they're going to figure that out. So that's where the authenticity is, like, just do your homework, honor the people that you're meeting with, figure out what their intentions are. What's their past distribution track record? What's their past financing model? How does it work for you? And don't waste your own time, and don't waste their time, because maybe there's a better target for you. And maybe it's in that investigation that you realize, okay, I actually understand what I'm trying to do a little bit better. So also have that humility to know that I'm learning along the way, and I'm learning as I'm even pitching. I'm learning, and I'm hearing from them, and I'm asking them for advice. So it's okay to ask people for advice.
Yeah, that's more my style, as you know. Yeah, I tend to be a little, quiet when it comes to these things, and not so belligerent in your face. But I was wondering if
balance, though, right? It's a balance, because if you're too humble, then they're not going to have confidence that you're going to like necessarily pull this off. If you're too cocky, if you're too, so it's that sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you? Could you talk about an example? We don't need to go into particulars here, Irwin, where you've pitched a project that's been meaningful for you, important for you. Maybe things were on the line, if you will, but it went wrong. You think the pitch went wrong. Do you have any examples of that, and maybe what you learned from that, or maybe first what went wrong, and then second, maybe something that you learned from that? I should have sent that. I should have sent that example to you beforehand.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm sure I do. But just to be honest, yesterday I was I was trying to time it. I was just, hey, thread it here. I was just going on my way to Nanaimo, which is the subject of your film, yesterday. And I was trying to get the meeting with a person I've been pitching for a year. And the meeting was going down yesterday at 3:00, and I was going to be in the ferry lineup. But we were visiting someone else. I was visiting my mom, and that went 10, 15 minutes longer than I wanted to, because we were talking about lovely things like tulips and things like that. And so I arrived late for the meeting, and I'm like, now I'm like, I'm not helping myself. I'm not helping the cause of showing that I'm ready for this pitch to be successful by showing up late. So I messaged my coworker, say, hey, can you let them know I'm en route? So why I'm saying this is I'm already digging myself a hole, and it's actually not going to help my confidence. And then I'm on Zoom, and then I'm like, okay, I realize I've got my background. So now I'm like changing the filter on the Zoom camera, so I'm blurring the back. So I'm distracted on a number of levels, and I'm not focused on my pitch. And so that's a good lesson. Forget your shit together. Be prepared. Meet the time. Get the time. Anyways, as it was, like you, I may have been selling myself short, because they were definitely ready to do the deal yesterday. And
oh, wow. Okay.
And it was successful. To go to the end of the story, it is successful now. So we're doing this contract together that I've been pitching for three versions. And so not being distracted, but the flip side of that is have self-confidence and respect your worth, and respect the quality of your story, and respect the ground game that you've done, and know what your differential is, know what your story, know what your offering is unique and valuable. And again, it goes back to the fact that these are film funders or distributors who have work to do, and you're helping them do their work. And if you can,
Irwin, you'd be a great therapist, Irwin. What would you charge an hour? I think I'm going to go back and re-record the introduction and say you're a therapist as well, artist, and what I call it, a serial entrepreneur. I should have swapped that out for a therapist. No, I'm joking around, but it's about confidence, right? A big part of it is about confidence, and I think what I've respected about you over the years is that you're persistent, right? And I think for me, you're persistent, but it's also, you know, a lot of people, you've networked into I don't know how many different groups and sectors and
Yeah.
professions, and so again, those of you who don't know Irwin, he's people know Irwin in the Lower Mainland in British Columbia, right? So I'm assuming that that's partly where the confidence comes from, right? Is you have your finger on the pulse, you kind of know what the issues are, who the players are, that kind of stuff.
But sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming too. I think you also have to. We talk about it a lot right now. So I'm running an urban planning, social research event company, whatever. We do a bit of everything, and we have scope across the country too now. It's called Voor Urban Labs. But I think it took us a while to understand what our value proposition is, and so now I think I would have been ready yesterday back to this pitch. I would have been ready to walk away from it because I knew we had a certain value proposition for them. And if they didn't understand it after pitching them twice in 1 year, and this is the third time, then this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work out. And that's okay because one party is not ready for the other party. So knowing your value and not shortchanging yourself. And that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm a first time filmmaker. And if you don't fund it, go F yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about at the end of the day, you need to understand what the unique narrative is. You need to articulate what is that narrative? What is this film about and why is it of value? Why does it tell a different story than other stories before it? Why does it matter to audiences? Is it because it's got a powerful human connection? Is it because it's got an important story for these times? Is it a kind of cautionary social story that younger generations need to learn about from older? Like, what is this truth behind the story? Because it's not just the character, right? And if you're unable to articulate that, then what are you doing this for, right? Why are you doing it? So I think taking time to not be too insecure and to be prepared to walk away because you feel you want to honor the truth behind this project.
Awesome. Why don't we finish up, Irwin, with one last question about the follow-up? How important is it to follow up? What have been some of your strategies in the past to kind of try to reconnect, to try to I don't know, push the deal forward, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, if you're definitely convinced that this is to be done, to be honest, I think Gregory, I think I preload that one. So for me, it's actually in the development of the relationship incrementally. And infusing it with the confidence that we have something to do, we just haven't figured out what it is yet. And so rather than it being like, hey, yes, there's situations where you just cold call someone, you meet someone, hey, I'll follow up with you, you exchange a business card. There's formalities, and I think it's useful to follow those formalities. Throw them a message on LinkedIn. We saw each other. I pitched you. This person's being pitched by 20 other people. So give them honor them with a bit of an update. Don't be so cocky that, I'm Roger. I met at the bar. So, so do honor them by saying, here's a link to this thing. And I wanted to follow up with you because what's the value? What's the offer? You're offering them, reminding them of what the offer is, why you want to work together.
So do you actually hold something back and say, oh, I'll send you something else in 2 days, and then maybe we can schedule another chat or something like that? Do you actually hold something back, or it just becomes organic in the conversation?
Would you be willing? Would you be comfortable me sending you an email with XYZ? Would you be comfortable? I'll be in Toronto next week. Would you be comfortable? Would you have 20 minutes for me to swing by? Would you be comfortable with a 15-minute phone call? So concretizing with time. So don't presuppose this person has endless time for you. Let them know that it's containing. You're respecting their time. This is not endless. You're not inviting them to get married. There's a very
it is for me.
So feedback, pre-plan it, incrementally let them know why you have a relationship. So talk about tangential connection points. Hey, I know that person too, and I know this person. I worked on that project. Or we share a common interest in this. I saw on your LinkedIn profile you just attended that event. What did you think about it? So you're building a rapport with them, not just pitching transactionally. So balancing the transactional efficacy, time, quantitative. This is how much time. This is what the thing is. This is what my ask is. Be clear on what your ask is. And again, that's about self-confidence, like clarity of project management. You know where you're at with your project. You know what your holes are. You know what your need is, and you have to articulate that. But then also balance that with that kind of human relationship, because at the end of the day, yes, shit is transactional at HotDocs, but at the same time, people want meaningful relationships with each other. And that's partly what your film is about, right? Like these wild characters that you bring to the screen.
And that's why you and I have been pals for almost 40 years, right, Irwin?
Oh.
No, I mean like meaningful relationships. It wasn't a transactional one. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Thanks, Irwin. Look, this has been really, really awesome. And I'm actually going to play this back and take notes afterwards because I was saying before we started that some of these podcasts are purely for me. They're not for my listeners. Honestly, they're I picked some topics like this one really to try to get my shit together. Yeah. And this has probably been one of the most important ones so far.
Well, if you see the invoice from Vor Counseling, then you know that was about this session.
And I'll know to put that into my to pay pile, not to recycle one. Thanks, Irwin.
So one more thing you
Irwin
store. So
again, Irwin Oostindie, everyone from Voor Labs in Vancouver. Thank you so much, Irwin. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Yes, they knew I'd be standing naked, and with the old duds now gone, I can come clean. This was not an ode to clothes or prose that's sacred. Babe, this whole thing was just a dirty trick to make you think of me naked. Seriously, though. Call me.